Did you know that during the Irish potato famine, according to Encyclopedia Britannica, the population fell 25% in 1872? A monoculture is when a plant clones of the same plant in the entire field. The global food system relies on people all over the world to help produce food, and if any place has monoculture, then the entire system can collapse because of a simple disease. Monocultures make the global food system extremely susceptible to failure, and so if everyone changed to a polyculture, then everything would be safer. I will be proposing solutions to SDG 2, which is no hunger. Our food system depends on farmers to produce food. 3 reasons that monocultures are not good are monocultures fail really easily, according to control freaks. They are 94% more susceptible than normal crops. This can become a massive problem for obvious reasons. Another reason is when monocultures destroy places, they are known to kill thousands of people. A good example of this is what happened in Ireland. They lost thousands of people. The last one is monocultures use way more pesticides than average crops. All these things combined create a really dangerous crop that is susceptible to disease. Ireland is a good example of a place that suffered from monoculture, but there are other examples. California had a monoculture problem with their grapes, and they were forced to replant 2 million grapevines. China also has one, as said in Empires of Food. For instance, China is now a vast sea of monocultures, dotted with little islands of native rice. If you decide to depend on a single monoculture, that could spell disaster for your country. The only way you could say Ireland addressed its problem after the fact was to stop planting monocultures and start planting polycultures. There's one really simple thing that we can learn from history, and that is to never, and I mean never, plant monocultures. The safe way to go is to plant a polyculture. In case you're wondering, the reason places are still planting monocultures is because they are what's considered cash crops, which simply means they're produced for their money, not for farmers' use. There are a few things farmers can do to address this problem. First, I think that the government from where you're from can subsidize farmers who grow different crops so that a disease doesn't come through and wipe everything out. In the past, governments have subsidized farms many times. According to Wikipedia, the U.S. government has given farms $1.4 million in subsidized money. Second, eat locally grown foods because local farms don't grow monocultures. You might be wondering how we will get everyone to eat locally grown food, and a solution is that more people can start growing their own gardens, especially in the city. You also may be wondering how we'll make prices affordable. If enough people buy local, then prices will start decreasing since the farmers are getting more business. And third, don't buy from places that plant monocultures because it supports these farms and allows them to keep growing monocultures. Our planet can't afford to mess up to the scale the Irish did. It wasn't just the Irish people's fault that these crops messed up, but I am just pointing out how disastrous it was. So we should never grow monoculture. What you should take from this is that the best way to avoid the effects of planting monoculture are to plant a polyculture. Polycultures are a way safer, and they create a nice variety of plants for people. Polycultures don't use nearly as many pesticides as a monoculture does because they aren't as susceptible to diseases as monocultures are. One way for you to support polycultures is by buying local, since local farms aren't normally monocultures and you won't be supporting a farm that relies on monoculture crop. It will be addressing SDG 2 because it is zero hunger, and if we find a more sustainable way to produce food, then we'll be able to feed everyone. When you're in a grocery store and are ready to pick up the cheap generic potato, remember how many people died from something just like that. Thanks.